Hey everyone, welcome to the Cedar Room podcast where we talk about life, family, a lot of business, and a little bit about everything else. I'm Dan Vanderkoy, husband to my stunning wife Erin, dad to our 3 wild kiddos, and owner of Mana Insurance Group. From running around playing games as a youth pastor to running an insurance company, I've experienced and learned a lot. We hope this is a place for you to come think, process, and challenge yourself to grow. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay connected as we talk through these ideas together. Hey everybody, Dan Vanderkoy here with Mana Insurance Group on the Cedar Room podcast, and I am really excited today to have Mark with me.
Hey Dan, I'm actually so honored. Like, I never thought this day would come, that I'd be on your podcast, but I'm stoked about it.
You know, I never thought I'd have a podcast, but I do.
You know, and to be honest, I'm actually like, even though I'm usually on the other side of the camera, I actually love getting an inside scoop and just sitting there and listening to all the information. Because you guys give out so much information, I feel like it'd just be ridiculous not to tune in.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Hopefully it's useful. So, but no, so one of the things it's been really cool. Mark and I have had the opportunity to get to know each other. And you know what? I can't even pronounce your last name, right? I mess it up all the time. So we're good friends, but why don't you say who you are, where you're from, that sort of thing.
Totally. My name is Mark Kutrovski. Kutrovski, yeah. It's sometimes like a tongue twister, but
that's Spanish, right?
Oh yeah, it's definitely Spanish. Unfortunately, it's not Spanish.
Oh.
My parents actually immigrated from Russia.
So close, but
it's in that region.
Yeah.
And so it kind of has like a mixture of like a Russian and a Polish last name.
Cool.
So that's kind of where it's originated from.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not from Russia. I was born here, so you can technically call me an American, just with Russian parents. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
we love everybody.
Exactly.
Right. So you've been working with Anthros Media for a while, or with Josh Gray and that crew, and that's kind of how we've got to know each other a little bit. Is you came down last year with Josh to do some stuff for Eagles Nest International down in Guatemala, the orphanage and school we work with.
Yep.
And it was a lot of fun, and you had to put up with me for 10 days. And
I had the privilege of putting up with you. Seriously though, it was such a fun trip. Man, the story of Eagles Nest is so impactful. And to be able to be on the other side of the camera, recording it, telling the story, making that video for you guys was so awesome. So thanks for calling us out there.
Absolutely. Sounds like you're going to come down again.
Looks like it.
All right. So today I wanted to have you on just because Mark has this passion. Besides being an incredible videographer and editor and producer and everything like that, you do a phenomenal job with that. But you have this other passion that is coffee. You love coffee.
Yes.
Yes. And so you've kind of developed over time, just you've been involved in different ways with it. And now you kind of have a new dream and a passion of what's the name of the company that you're in?
It's called Mirror Coffee Roasters.
Yes. Yeah. And so you have this new vision for Mirror Coffee Roasters that you are kind of in the very beginning phases of starting and researching and all that fun stuff of starting a business. Tell us your heart behind this, your passion for coffee, why, and how that plays into, I think, ultimately helping others is what a big part of it is too, right?
Totally. Yeah. Man, that is you gave me such a broad question. And for somebody like me, I mean, you give him a question like that, and that entails like hours and hours of talking.
Okay, so remember, we want to keep it to 25 to 45 minutes.
That's right.
Let's stay in the lane. So let's start out. Why coffee? Like, how did you kind of develop a passion for coffee? Let's start there.
Cool. That's awesome. Thank you. So I lived in Portland for about a year and a half. And
keep it weird, right?
Keep it weird. Yeah, it was very weird, but it was also very awesome.
Cool.
They have a very similar culture to Bellingham, where it's kind of all local, kind of intimate, even though it's like a bigger city.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked it there. And for the longest time ever, I was a big fan of the classic coffee. I loved mochas. I loved frappuccinos. I loved all the syrups in there.
Talking to a mocha guy right here.
Hey, I'm
good.
I'm not mad. No judgment. I always say the best coffee is the one that you love. So that's really
phenomenal.
It is. And that's really at the core of it all. But I remember distinctly one day I walked into a coffee shop and ordered a Frappuccino, and the guy's like, "We don't serve white girl drinks here." And I was like, like that hurt. And I was in front of like all my friends. So I'm like, oh man, like I feel kind of stupid, but, I mean, that was kind of like a very straight up front answer, and that went by. And then actually, several months after that, I ran into a coffee shop that was on my way right to the school that I was working at. And one of the baristas just became a really good friend of mine. And, it was less of going into the coffee shop and just ordering and taking it to go, whatever. It was more of me walking in there and building a relationship with this barista.
Yeah.
And that relationship kind of turned into him being like, "Hey, you're ordering this coffee. Can I let you try like a pour over coffee, which is just a black coffee?"
Okay.
It's just made with a little bit more care and detail to it. And I tried it and I was like, I've never had this in my life. Like, I always thought I needed sugar and creamer to make coffee taste good. And all of a sudden, there's this black cup of coffee right in front of me. And it's me, the barista, and the owner of the coffee shop. And we're around a table, and I feel enlightened. I'm like, there's so much more to this coffee thing. And there's two things that I want to point out is that, it was around people.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at coffee shops today, it's either, people like me who are sitting behind a MacBook and editing away or working. Which I've
seen you do that multiple times.
Yes, you're right. And that's one group of people. But the majority of it all is also like friends coming together, business partners having meetings, people coming together, introducing one another, first dates, whatever it is. It's this opportunity for community to get together.
Yeah.
And that's part A of it. And part B is also now you have this black coffee in front of you that has notes of like nuts and chocolate and all this complexity into it. And I'm like, wow, the coffee is more than just coffee.
So I've never tried anything like what you're describing right now. I mean, I'm a mocha guy, I grew up drinking coffee since I was probably like 6 or 7 years old. I had this short little Italian grandma who, we always joked because she said she started drinking coffee when she was really young. And we said, well, that's why you're so short,
gosh,
and
right.
And they always say, it stunts your growth, but, I don't believe it. So, but I drink coffee now. If I get just like drip coffee or whatever, I drink it the same way my grandma drank it because that's what I knew, right? So it's a cup of coffee, 2 creams. That's it. No sugar, not just 2 creams, right?
Totally.
But I like when you're talking about like hints of like nuts and chocolate and other things like that with the coffee and it's a pour, like, dude, I want to try this. Like we need to make this happen, I think.
Totally. And that's awesome because maybe in a month or 2 I'll have my own roasted coffee. So
there we
shameless
go.
plug right there.
There we go. No, I like it. So you've kind of had that enlightenment experience a little bit. It was like, wow, this is really good. Yep. But even on a whole nother level, I just feel like I'm in community. I'm connecting, right? Mm-hmm. So now take me from there to this vision for Mirror now, like for what you're trying to do and your idea behind this entire company.
Totally. So I'm going to go a little way back, starting off where we left off. At this time, my brother on the East Coast, he's also experiencing the same enlightenment. And randomly, somehow, we get on a phone call, and he's like, dude, I'm getting into this coffee stuff. It's crazy. And I'm like, wait, me too. This is insane. And
you're like, I just discovered Starbucks. It's amazing. It's on every corner. I'm feeling enlightened by Starbucks.
Yes. Hey, but Starbucks, I mean, that's part 2.
You know what I need to do? I need to stop. I need to stop because, well, first of all, I think Woods coffee is way better than Starbucks I love Wes and that crew over there. But I will say one of my favorite memories of you is in the Vancouver airport up in BC as we're heading out to Guatemala, and you're Josh over here is getting his Starbucks or whatever, and you're just giving him hard Starbucks consistency.
Yeah.
Like that's your mantra, right?
Yes, totally. But let's be honest, Starbucks is good at consistency.
I guess
you
they
go
are.
anywhere in the world, you can go to Starbucks in Guatemala or in Bellingham, it'll taste the same.
Yeah,
most likely.
I'm excited for Woods Coffee to be that way because I think Wes is just going to keep growing it, and I love Woods Coffee. I love everything they're about.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of really awesome stuff, and even stuff kind of very similar to what I'm trying to do with Mir as well.
Yeah.
Which going off with the story, so my brother is also getting into coffee, begins managing a coffee shop, turns into roasting a little more coffee, and at this point also I've moved back to Bellingham from Oregon, and I landed my first coffee job, which was ironically at Woods Coffee.
Oh, really?
And
I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. And so I'm working at the roastery, and Shay, the director of coffee, this very knowledgeable, smart man, genius of coffee. And I'm just get to have the opportunity to learn from him.
Mm-hmm.
And so time goes by. I transitioned working behind the bar because I wanted to get a little bit more experience of what that feels like. And at this point, my brother also moves back. And little did I know that my brother had a friend, a really good friend, who his name was Taylor, who learns the Indonesian language like super, super well. Like to the point where when my brother goes and visits him, he's the translator.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And so a big part of what Taylor wants to do is he wants to build relationships with locals. And building relationships, it's a little bit more than just saying, hey, I want to be friends with you, or, I have a certain agenda and you need to help me out with this or something. It's more about meeting people where they're at.
Yeah.
And what is the Indonesian culture so wrapped up in? Coffee. And some of the stories that I'm hearing from my brother is Taylor will walk into a house and the first thing they do is they grab green coffee, throw it on a pan over a fire, roast it up right in front of him, and then literally crush it and pour hot water over it, and then they serve it to him.
That's awesome.
Like, that's the way they communicate.
Yeah.
That's the way they're relational. He's also told me, like, they'll do that at 10 p.m. Like, and it's coffee's less of like, oh, I can't wake up without coffee, or I need coffee on my way to work. And it's more of like, I want to be able to sit down and talk to you. Let's do it over a cup of coffee.
It's relational.
It's totally relational.
It has nothing to do about caffeine or anything like that, right?
It's something that's grown on their land.
Yeah.
That's come from a good amount of work, and then now it's an opportunity for us to meet and gather on the table, despite our differences, whether that's skin color with Taylor or anything. It's like we just want to meet together.
That's really cool.
And so out of that was birthed this vision of we want to do coffee because of the people. That's really all there is to it. And it's first people, then it's coffee. Because you need people to grow the coffee, to produce the coffee, to process the coffee, to ship the coffee. You need people to work behind the bar at the coffee shop. But then you also need people to drink the coffee.
Yeah.
Like, there's people everywhere, and coffee is just the medium. So not too long ago, I was working at the coffee shop and picked up a magazine during a spare time, and there was this article where a big part of the coffee community was gathered around this idea is that right now coffee farmers are being very underpaid. Coffee is a commodity, so on the C market, it's valued about an average of 92 cents per pound.
Okay.
The cost of production on average is $1.30. Those numbers are significantly disproportional. Like, they're losing 40 cents per pound so that we at home can drink our mocha, our frappuccino, our pour over, whatever it is. And these farmers are not even having enough money to finance their projects, let alone, like, they have families, they have communities, they have children. And so
wait a minute. So let me get this straight.
Yeah.
You're basically saying their entire jobs and their workforce, every month they're just going further in the hole.
A big portion of them, yes. I'm not saying all of them, but a big portion, the average, yes. And it's a sobering it's a sobering reality, especially when we both were in Guatemala and the terrain is not easy to work with.
It's incredible. It's incredibly difficult.
Literally, like you're working on mountainsides like this.
Well, that and then any type of soil for planting or anything like that. You're using pickaxes to get into it, right? I mean,
totally. Totally. And so it's not easy labor. It's hard labor. You're putting in a lot of energy into this strength. And at the end of the day, it's undervalued.
Yeah.
It's underappreciated.
Yeah.
And so where does Mira Coffee Roasters come into this? Well, Taylor, who's been through the Specialty Coffee Association, they have a school for coffee. And he went through the coffee school. He's a certified professional. And his biggest goal right now is to build relationships with these local farmers and teach them better practices of growing coffee. Because right now there's bits and pieces here and there that they're not quite seeing. Yeah. But he's helping them and educating them to grow better coffee, higher quality coffee, which later on could be sold on the C market as a commodity for a greater price. Yeah. So that it can go from, figuratively speaking, from that 92 cents approximately to maybe $1.30, $1.50, maybe $2. Yeah. And when you look at that idea, it becomes, it's the implications of that are so huge because now you're empowering farmers. You're making sure they know that they're valued, that the people in the Western world somewhere across the ocean actually care about what you're putting hard work into. So you're feeling valued and appreciated as a person, but you're also supporting their families. You're also helping them be passionate about what they're doing. It's hard to be passionate about something that you're like struggling and going deeper into the hole with.
Well, absolutely. And it's really interesting because I feel like with technology today and the way our world is so connected in so many ways, but yet so disconnected, and there's not depth in relationships, that we're really quick to just hop on Amazon or hop on Walmart.com or Costco or whatever. And they're great companies. Like they serve a purpose. They do that too, right? Totally. But like for me, like if I got to go buy a new drill, I know I could go to Home Depot. I know I could order a DeWalt drill off of Amazon or something like that. Totally. But I'm going to go buy it local from Ace Hardware and Brandon and Dean Hendricks because my office is in the same, shopping mall as theirs, and they're local, and that money comes right back into the community, right? Exactly. And so like understanding that for me, I actually had a conversation with a couple of people in our office about this morning that to me, and I get everyone's in different financial categories and some people got to pinch pennies a little more than others and stuff. Totally. And that's not where I'm going with this, but I'm just saying for me, it's less about the price and it's more about the relationship. And I would rather support a company that wants to tell their story and use their platform for good in this world to make a difference in this world, that it's not just about the product they're selling, but it's about the people behind it, and not just the people that work at the company, but the people who help supply that product for the company. And like you're saying now, even too, like how cool is that? Like for me, if I want to buy coffee for my office or something like that, right, or our church or whatever, it could be a cool way to plug back in where we know that the people on the other end, it's a fair trade type deal, right? It's something where they're feeling valued, they're being compensated fairly for, and it's not just a quick, hey, I want this cheap, I'm going to get it, right? But there's a purpose behind that, right?
Totally, you're right. And I actually came into contact literally a couple of days ago where went into Guitar Center to buy a new pair of headphones, and they didn't have them in stock. They had ordered them, and I need headphones to edit. I need headphones to work. And I'm like, oh man, that sucks. He's like, I can order it for you. It'll come in 3 days. I'm like, maybe I'll check around, see if somebody's like selling it locally, or if I can just order it off of Amazon Prime, it'll come tomorrow. And he's like, hey, actually, if you order it locally, like the money stays locally.
He said that to you?
He literally said that to me.
That's awesome.
And to me, I was like, thank you for sharing that, because I had no idea that's how a big corporation like Guitar Center worked, where if you buy locally, it's still going to remain locally. Yeah. While even if you order from Guitar Center on their website, that money's going who knows where. Yeah. And so I was like, wow, like thank you for sharing that, because that was the tipping point for me to saying, no, I'll just wait.
Well, just a moment of realizing, you know what, I can tough it out another day or two. Yeah. Right.
Totally.
So, okay. So you've started this. Taylor's gone through his certification. He started making connections over there. What's next?
What's next? So right now is well, we're in the process of building out our space. We're almost done.
Okay.
We've already set an order for our roaster. The order takes about 8 weeks because they pretty much manufacture to order.
Yeah.
So should be coming in the first 2 weeks of November.
Cool.
And now it's working out the technicalities and the details with Taylor, and making sure he's empowered to do what he needs to on that side. Shipping the coffee out to us, making sure we're getting enough of it, making sure also that the quality is there.
Yeah.
Because once again, like I said, community first, but then there's the quality side to it. And so monitoring that, and then really it is just throwing that thing in the roaster once it comes and
starting to go.
Yeah, starting to go. So
yeah.
I'm really excited, and the vision is so much bigger than myself. And to be honest, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, why am I even doing this? This is taking such a big toll, and it's taking a part of my mind and energy. But when you think that you can impact an entire economy of entire village and region overseas just through relationship and learning how to steward your resources, the work and the difficulty just becomes so worth it.
Yeah.
Because you know that somebody's being impacted overseas, and that's just crazy. like we have that ability to be able to do that with the resources that we have, so why not?
Yeah. Well, and I think too, you go along that coffee line, the whole thing with coffee and waking up in the morning, right? And it's like, oh, give me my cup of coffee. And you start to think about it, and how often do we do that in our daily lives with just our jobs and our family, and we're rush, and we're pushing through everything, and we're trying to get from one thing to the next thing, and everything's about production and getting things done and numbers, and all of a sudden, if you continue to live your life in that way, you're going to look back and you're going to be like, what the heck? And I don't know anyone, and I've heard this said 100 times, I don't know anyone that's on their deathbed that says, oh, I wish I would have worked more, or I wish I would have done that.
Totally.
But what if you're using your work as a platform, right? Yeah. What if you're using the gifts that God's given to you to impact so many other people, right?
Totally.
And I think just like Mark as an outsider, I think it's so cool what you're doing, and the vision and the passion behind that God's stirred in your heart to do, and your obedience to that, and willing to be like, okay, here we go. Let's try this, right?
Yeah, totally.
So I think that's really cool. So what else, anything else that we haven't covered about what Mirror is going to be about, and stuff that you're doing, or who's your demographic? Who are, your potential clients that you could sell coffee to and do different things? How does that, the business side back here work for you?
Totally. That's when the quality side comes into play. Right now, hopefully we're working with a couple of coffee shops. We have some ideas, and some people are interested by the story that we're telling. And so it'll be coffee shops, from coffee shops to, local people who are buying a bag of coffee, to churches. Churches are already buying coffee from somewhere.
Yep.
And who knows where. And I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but most of the time the church coffee is not that great,
Okay, so no joke, yesterday after church, my kids are at the coffee stand. I'm looking for my daughter all over. I'm like, we gotta go to your grandma and grandpa's for lunch, right? And and I walk around the corner, and there's my daughter, a little 8-ounce Dixie cup or whatever, getting a cup of coffee, and she's pouring 3, it's a little tiny cup, right? 3 vanilla creamers into it. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, oh, I only put 1 cup of sugar, or 1 thing of sugar in it. I'm like, but you just put 3 vanilla creamer. What are you doing? I'm like, I don't even want to taste that. But
yeah, it's like, why don't you just put the vanilla in first and then add the coffee as toppings?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. But also changing that, it would be awesome to empower churches with better tasting coffee. But not only that, just to know that even as simple as something like buying coffee, they could be confident that somebody else is being empowered overseas.
Exactly.
And they could know every part of the chain is being taken care of responsibly. And then also offices, really anywhere right now, And so Indonesian coffee won't be the only coffee, but it's going to be a big part of it. And hopefully, you know, maybe in the future, we can take that model with Indonesia and just spread it out across the world and maybe start sending people to Africa
and
who are trained in Guatemala. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so, so the demographic is anybody, and the goal is to make coffee approachable as well.
That's cool.
It's like, we're not trying to be like this snobby, out of this world coffee fanatics, you know, which there's going to be a place for that too, for the people who care about that.
Yeah, like you.
Yeah, exactly. Like me. It's true. I'm going to be honest.
Consistency.
But then also, like, we want to be approachable and have the cheaper coffee that's still going to be, you know, better than most coffees around that you can go find at the grocery store. And so we're trying to keep the spectrum wide.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Totally.
So if people want to find out more about you, what's going on with Mirror Coffee Roasting? Like, where do they go?
Where do they go? You can follow Mirror Coffee Roasters on Instagram.
Okay.
We'll start posting on there a little bit more and sharing the story and what's going on in the process. You can also follow me personally. It's going to be on Instagram, Mark_Kut. That's KUT. And yeah, those are the two main social media accounts, and feel free to DM me, message me, comment, whatever. Like, I've told this story like 100 times, but I love every bit of it. So if you want to meet up and chat, I'm up for that too.
Have you ever thought about like creating like a video to tell the story? Because I could probably help with that. I know I'm really skilled, especially the audio side of it. I'm really good at editing audio.
Dan, are you kidding me? Like, is that even a question? Like, when we make our video, every single video is going to go through you.
Oh, thank you.
You're going to put those headphones on.
Yep.
That you bought locally.
Yes.
And you're going to listen through the entire video and make sure the audio is not clipping, not too quiet. Like,
yeah, we don't want the audio. We do not want the audio clipping.
Like, why would you make a video and not hear the story? Because the music is too loud.
That's ridiculous. Some people, there's that quality control like we talked about, right?
God, tell me about it.
And so we're gonna make sure that there's no clipping, that things sound crisp, fresh, they're balanced well.
Exactly. So
and then I'll send you a bill at the end of it.
Yeah, just invoice me. Oh God, like I don't have enough expenses right now.
I thought all small business owners were loaded. What?
Oh
no, I thought that was no. Okay, I think that's probably enough for today. Huh?
Okay.
Hey, thank you for coming out. This was awesome, and it's really fun to have you and just see, like I said, how God's wired you and to carry out this vision that He's laid on your heart to really impact a whole demographic of people. And I'm excited to see where it's going, because I feel like you're going to do it the right way. And because of that, you're going to be blessed from it. So best of luck to you at Mirror Coffee Roasters. If you want to check them out, again, follow Mark on Instagram or Mirror Coffee Roasters on Instagram. Make sure if you like this podcast and what we're doing, give us the thumbs up, the 5 stars, and subscribe. Share it with your friends. And we will talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining the Cedar Room podcast. Have a great week, everybody.